What led into the cancellation of the Latino Festival? And Augie students are reacting to college campus violence and reaction from faith leaders after the same type of violence. This is Inside the Newsroom, and I'm your host, Maddie Paul. Inside the Newsroom, we bring you the trending stories of the KELOLAND area, and we bring in our newsroom staff members to talk about the stories that you see every day on our newscasts and online at KELOLAND.com. To start off with our first trending story, reaction is pouring in after more violence shook the country this week. Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk was fatally shot from a rooftop while speaking at a Utah college. And around the same time, two students at a Denver high school were shot and injured by another student who then turned the gun on himself. Kelly Vogt talks with local faith leaders in the wake of this violence and division.
The shootings this week are just the latest in a string of violence we've seen play out across the country. As more details emerge about the violent events, there's no question there is division across the nation. Pastor Laurie Kidd at Wesley United Methodist Church in Sioux Falls says her first suggestion for navigating the divide is prayer.
We are taught in Scripture to love others, to love our enemies, which I know is difficult sometimes.
We have to get back to just this respect of human life at all stages. We just do.
Father James Morgan at the Cathedral of St. Joseph says we can't get angry and we can't resort to violence when we disagree with someone.
There needs to be that respect, and I think we've crossed a line, in all different ideologies. We've crossed a line where we lack that respect for someone else's opinion and what they believe what is meaningful for them and what is truthful for them.
If recent events are leaving you feeling frustrated or hopeless, Kidd suggests talking with someone you trust.
A lot of people have counselors and therapists that they talk to, and even as clergy have those as well, because there's times when you have to talk to somebody that has a different outlook on things, is open to listening.
And Kelly Vogt joins us at the digital desk now to talk more about this very important story. Kelly, these are all developing stories that we're watching unravel about political violence across the country. And this angle for your specific story almost feels like a health angle to me, just because it's offering advice and general awareness about emotional capacity. But why do you think it is so important to have an angle like this story, for example, when we're seeing developing news like violence unfold?
Yeah, well, this is another example of just a scary and sobering moment in the country. And we have a lot of news coming in about the details of what happened. And, a lot of people online are reacting. And I just thought it was important to maybe take a step back and just see what some of the faith leaders in our community would have to say to people.
Yeah, and why choose faith leaders?
Well, a lot of times many people turn to them when they need some guidance, and maybe they're feeling a little lost. And I thought that they would just be good people to reach out to for this type of story.
And in your opinion, why is it so important to include multiple faith leaders for a story like this?
Well, with any story, we always want a variety of perspectives. And so that's why I wanted to include more than one voice in this story.
Right. And by gathering these perspectives about handling violence and witnessing it, what do you hope viewers take away from your story?
That, it is okay to step back and just talk to someone you trust, like Pastor Kidd suggested, if you are struggling with this, or, maybe you just don't know how to navigate this.
And Kelly, is there anything else that you would like viewers to know about this particular story?
I think we've covered it, Maddie.
Excellent. And then what kind of story are you working on for tonight, Kelly?
Well, I'm also doing a church-related story on a lighter note. The Cathedral of St. Joseph is getting a new organ. This is a huge undertaking. They've been working on this since 2018. So it's going to be here soon. So we're not only getting an update on the organ, but this project has revealed some artwork on the wall that you don't have many chances to see. Ooh. So we're going to take a look at that and just talk about why that's special.
Sounds fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us here, Kelly, talking about very important stories. And everyone stick around, because up next, we're sticking with a local angle and reactions to what happened to Charlie Kirk on a college campus shooting. We're going to Augustana, hearing from students. Our reporter is joining us next after the break. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. South Dakota college students say they're shocked and brokenhearted by Wednesday's deadly shooting of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk on a campus in Utah. Perry Groten spoke with some students.
The chaos that erupted on a Utah college campus in the aftermath of the shooting of Charlie Kirk is a chilling eye-opener to some students at Augustana University.
I think that we always think that college campuses are safe, or one of the more safer places. I mean, there's always people walking around, there's always teachers, it's a very public place, but I think this just kind of goes to show that anything can happen, anything's possible.
Some students are concerned that more acts of violence will flare up given the charged political climate in the country.
I think the separation of the political parties is really damaging because we all are all Americans. I think we should be able to create some unity there.
Students we spoke with say Augustana does a good job of making sure they're familiar with safety protocols on campus.
We have meetings in the dorms about what their expectations and rules are and how to stay safe. We have campus safety we can call at any time.
Students say they still feel safe on the Augustana campus, but the Charlie Kirk shooting has many of them becoming more vigilant about being aware of their surroundings.
Not just kind of think that, that this can't happen to us just because we live in Sioux Falls. I mean, it happened in Utah. What's stopping it from happening anywhere else?
And Perry Groten joins us now at the digital desk to talk more about this story. Perry, a very important story as we continue to learn developing news surrounding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But to start, when you went out to go talk to those Augustana students, did you know exactly when you were going to show up, who you were going to speak to?
No, not really. Just kind of take potluck. We went. We got the clearance from Augustana to come out on campus, and we set up by the commons there. Didn't know what we were going to find or what students' reactions were going to be, but everyone we spoke with, we asked, they were willing to go on camera. They had heard about this whole situation and really had some deep felt thoughts about what had happened. A lot of them, Charlie Kirk is credited with re-engaging a lot of young adults into the political system. So this really impacts a lot of college-age students, especially with that shooting happening on a college campus.
Right. Perry, could you move your mic a little bit closer to you, please? And my next question for you is, because this was a man on the street story, you going out with the students, what kind of elements did you want to really nail for this story? Well,
I was more particular to find out if instances like this really raise people's awareness about staying safe on campus, and it really has done something like that. A lot of the students already were always taking good precautions. They tell me women especially tell us they'd always walk in groups and that kind of thing, and make sure that they try to avoid darkened areas, which is what the Augustana University recommends. They also Augustana has safety protocols in place where if some kind of an emergency on campus happens, there's a threat on campus, the students are advised 3 basic things: run from the scene, hide, like perhaps if you're in a building, hide behind a door, locked door, or barricade a door, and as a last resort, fight back. And that can include, ideally, a group of students fighting the aggressor or using some kind of a makeshift weapon to defend themselves. But run, hide, and last resort, fight.
Perry, maybe a question running through our viewers' mind is, why create this story in the first place? What do you think is important about hearing from our own college students about violence on campuses?
Well, because we're seeing violence on campus, right? And it's always, schools always make a priority of keeping their students safe because nobody wants to see another tragedy like what happened in Utah happened here. And that's what some of the students told me too. They said, hey, if it can happen in Utah, it can happen anywhere.
Right. And, after hearing from the Augustana students that you spoke to, what's something that you think you will take away from creating this story?
Well, I think just the overall fact that the students take, and sometimes you think students are so caught up in their own lives and their studies and their academic pursuits that they don't necessarily pay attention to the wider world. But every student we spoke with was very aware of what had unfolded and in Utah and the manhunt that followed, which is now fortunately has apparently come to an end this morning.
Right. Before we get into that, is there anything that you would like our viewers to know about the story that you created yesterday, hearing from these Augustana students?
Well, other than the fact that universities make a very concerted effort to keep the students safe, and the danger is always out there, but you don't want to panic at any time. You just want to, if you do the right precautions and don't get scared, you'll be okay. You'll be safe. You'll get through this.
And Perry, you're kind of sticking with more reaction tonight, right? What story are you working on?
Yeah, I'm going to be
tonight?
talking to people just downtown, another kind of a person on the street interview downtown, asking people here what they think about now that there's been an arrest in the Charlie Kirk assassination attempt. We've learned this morning that a suspect now is in custody, and we're going to find out what people think about that and if they're worried about future acts of political violence, et cetera.
Perry, thank you so much for talking about this very important story here at the Digital Desk. And everyone stick around. Up next, we're talking about a hard but right decision. That was the words from one of the people that we interviewed to cancel the Latino Festival here in Sioux Falls. Our digital reporter is joining us next after the break. And welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. The Latino Festival and Parade has been canceled this year in Sioux Falls amid ICE concerns. Talking more about this story is our digital reporter, Gracie Terrell, who looked into the details and spoke to many about what's going on. And Gracie, to start off with, this cancellation came out close to the day of the festival, right?
Yeah, it did. It was just about 10 days before the festival. You know, this was a decision they said was a hard but necessary one. Because of the increased concerns about ICE and Operation Prairie Thunder. So something a little bit closer to home, too, that they're worried about.
Who did you speak to for the story? I
talked with Celine Zamorano. She is the president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and also the vice president, Ivan Romero. And, they kind of had similar sentiments. They wanted to keep the Hispanic population safe. And they thought, having an event like this where that vulnerable population could be on display and, have something negative happen. So they just decided to forego the festival this year.
Can you go a little deeper? What were the components that really led to the decision to cancel the festival and parade this year?
Yeah, so, the anti-immigrant sentiment across the country was kind of one of the big things. But then Operation Prairie Thunder and, increased ICE presence and patrols here in Sioux Falls specifically was kind of that deciding factor to them that, this is kind of getting closer to home. There's, more patrols and just a higher presence and higher kind of look at the Hispanic community right now. So they just want to keep everybody safe.
And just for some context with Operation Prairie Thunder, this really makes Sioux Falls a hot spot, right? What kind of elements are into that?
Yeah, for sure. There's increased saturation patrols. So that's one component to Operation Prairie Thunder for, drug arrests. But then the law enforcement is also helping, deport immigrants that are in the prison system here in Sioux Falls already. And, there's just, more talks about, ICE people present in the community, more contacts with ICE agents those immigrants are having and arrests as well.
Was there anything that your interviewee said that kind of shocked you or maybe surprised you?
They had said that, just kind of this anti-immigrant sentiment has caused, businesses, Hispanic businesses specifically here in Sioux Falls to suffer. They said that, Hispanic people in other parts of the state are kind of staying away from Sioux Falls right now just because of, just the increased eyes on everything. And that in turn is affecting Hispanic businesses that people go and support. So they said that it's kind of a low turnout right now. And they're hoping that even though they can't have this festival, they're still trying to push that support for the Hispanic community and go support those local businesses as well.
So what do they hope, your interviewees, what do they hope that the future will look like then? Or what kind of change do they want to see happen?
Yeah. I mean, I know right now they're really focused on just trying to keep everybody in the Hispanic community safe and informed about what's going on. They hope in the future, that to continue having these kinds of conversations. They said that canceling the Latino festival has kind of, put a spotlight on, why and those increased concerns. So they're hoping that we have more communication, conversations about it. And, eventually maybe things will die down and they can, have the festival next year and some other ways that they can, support their heritage in, Hispanic Heritage Month coming up here. But they also, are telling people to go out and support those businesses. And that will be, a big way to kind of help get over this kind of hurdle right now.
Is there anything else that you'd like our viewers to know about putting this story together, Gracie?
Oh, man. I mean, it was just, it's kind of a heavy topic. And when you're talking to, people that are directly impacted by this, there can be a lot of emotions and everything. But I think the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, they said that they're making the right decision. And it's a hard one because a lot of people would come out to the Latino Festival. This was going to be their third year and they had the parade as well. And, they're sad that they can't, celebrate their community on a large scale like that. But they are also just trying to remind people within their community that, they're still Latino, they're still Hispanic, and not having a festival, doesn't take anything away from that.
Gracie, thank you for sharing these details here at the Digital Desk. And everyone stick around because we're going to wrap things up when we come back after the break. Well, that's all the time that we have today for Inside the Newsroom, but I haven't seen Scott Munn here in a long time, so I had to bring you in, Scott, just for a little bit.
What's going on?
Yeah, what's
Either
going
one
on?
of us get canceled or what happened?
No, you just been very busy. You've been gone. I've had a busy show.
Well, it's been a busy news week, though, hasn't it?
I know, it really has.
Yep, you got to get that important stuff in.
But you have a busy show for Whether or Not coming up, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about this weekend forecast. We'll talk a little bit about the drought monitor, and the rain is setting up in the western South Dakota, trying to hit those areas that can use some rain still in the southwestern South Dakota. And with that, temperatures will be a little cooler in the west. Okay, don't worry, Maddie. We'll still have warm temperatures, higher humidity in eastern South Dakota for this weekend. We're trying to hold on to this warm weather for you for the weekend and even into next week. When we cool, we'll cool closer to average late next week.
So do you think rain this weekend is going to damper any of your weekend plans?
It depends where you're at.
Okay.
Western South Dakota, yes. Eastern KELOLAND, I would say no. Saturday's looking dry. The longer we go through the day on Sunday, the better chance we have at rain. I really think a lot of it for the James River Valley and East will probably hold off until 4, 5 o'clock and later Sunday.
Okay. Well, everyone needs to go watch Whether or Not to hear more about that with Brian Carsons, because Brian's always fun. You haven't had a Or Not segment in a while, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
You've been busy.
Might have one this weekend. See if I can remember to take any pictures, and we'll talk about it early Monday.
Got to remember, you got to plan ahead, work over the weekend in a way.
Right.
Well, I'll probably be watching football now that I'm a fantasy pro.
And you just had player play last night.
I did. One of them. Don't ask me who. Don't ask me how many. I just know I got like 15 points maybe from last night's game. But the person that I'm against in my league right now, they didn't have anyone play last night. So like,
you're ahead.
I am, but I think like ESPN is projecting that they're going to beat me after week 2 is over. So I'm
got to play the game. I'm a big fan of playing the game. Doesn't matter what the odds are.
That's my problem. I'm very competitive. So it's like, I'm just like, perfect. I'm set in stone. Like, this is just what I need. And it's like, nope, there's a couple more things we got to get to first, like finishing the week and getting good players on my roster.
Yeah, but isn't it funny? They play Thursday. You get your first players to play Thursday, and then you have to wait until maybe, Monday night.
I know.
To
you got to wait forever.
finish off all these players that you have on your team.
But then I keep watching football, and like maybe that's just what they want me to do. That's exactly it, right?
But for Sunday, when it's warm, you'll be inside watching football?
No! I'll be outside.
Okay.
Absorbing the sun of yeah, exactly. Watching it on my phone. All right, Scott, that's all the time that we have. Thanks for joining me at the Digital Desk.
Glad to be back.
I know. We'll find more time next week. And everyone, that's all the time that we have for Inside the Newsroom. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your weekend. If you're out west, I'm sorry about the rain, but you can blame the weatherman. And until next time, have a great day, everyone.